Listen to their voices. The rise in human trafficking is fueled by organized crime, and the number of children discovered has climbed significantly, according to the UN. They make up nearly 4 in 10 victims, and girls outnumber boys. Ilias Chatzis is chief of the Human Trafficking and Migrant Smuggling section at the UN's Office on Drugs and Crime. He joins me now from Austria. Thanks so much for joining. And I understand you're detecting more cases of human trafficking. I wonder, is that the result of better policing or better tracking of this, or because it's growing, because trafficking is growing?
It's actually both. We're getting better at detecting the crime, so we see more cases. We learn to recognize them. We learn how to better investigate and to prosecute and to save the victims. But at the same time, we also have new types of trafficking that did not exist before, especially on the online sector. Online scams, online sexual exploitation is really exploding lately and is becoming more and more prevalent. Lately, it's very difficult to find any longer a case that does not have an online component. So it's actually both of these reasons that you cited.
Are there parts of the world that are particularly affected by this?
Actually, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's, I think, more than 158 countries that we detected trafficking flows for this edition of the global report. So it happens at every corner. It happens in developed countries. It happens in developing countries. It's different types of trafficking. So, for example, in low-income countries, we have more child trafficking. We have other types of trafficking, more forced labor. For example, in developing countries, in developing countries, yes, and more trafficking for sexual exploitation in developed countries. So it differs, the types of trafficking that we see, but it happens everywhere. Trafficking is not a problem of the developing countries. It affects all of us.
What is the UN doing specifically to stand in the way of this? And I wonder how much help you're getting, right, from other nations around the world.
Yes. I mean, trafficking is a top priority for all member states. It has been on top of the agenda for many, many years. It's been at the top of the General Assembly. This year, the General Assembly will be having a high-level meeting to discuss its own global plan of action against human trafficking. So it is a high priority for all countries. So we're getting a lot of support. The issue with trafficking is that it's so much entangled with our economic development model, the exploitation, the supply chains, the online component that is difficult to investigate. And countries, low-income countries, don't even have the means to have the software or the equipment that they need. So it's becoming more and more difficult to address. But we do have a lot of support, and we're working across the world. We have offices in more than 150 countries. And we worked with more than 60 or 70 countries last year in different forms, helping them investigate, prosecute, save victims, develop programs for the victims to help them get back on their feet. And this year we'll be holding a big forum, a global forum for survivors of human trafficking, to help them raise their voice and be part of the solution.
Well, listen, we appreciate the work you do. It's important. Ilias Chatzis from the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.